Very nice to meet you. You want to, before we get into this, and I don't know what that means exactly, let's take a look at some of your film. We're going to show a clip from your motion picture. Yes, Giorgio, have they told you what this is, Luciano?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell the rest of the folks what we're going to take a look at here?
Are we taking a look first, and after you want me to say?
Let's take a look first. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What do you know? What part of the film we're going to see here?
I think so.
Okay. So.
Well, I'm sorry, you have to take no for an answer.
Mr. Feeney, excuse me, I'm Dr. Stuart Barman. What a thrill this is for me. I'm going to see you tomorrow.
Then my friend convinced her she should do the same. She fixed my throat, and now she refused to accept my invitation.
Pamela, this is the greatest singer in the world. You must go.
Opera plus me to sleep.
That is because you have never heard me sing. I challenge you to come tomorrow. If you don't fall asleep during the concert, you must have supper with me. And in the concert, I will sing an aria just for you.
Me and 150,000 other people.
No, for you alone. The aria is called Cielo e Mar.
That's my favorite.
And when I sing Vieni o donna, vieni al bacio della vita, come my beloved, come to the kiss of life, it will be just for you. Vieni o donna, vieni al bacio della vita.
What is the plot there of the movie?
Well, the doctor who is singing after me is the real writer of the script, who is inside the.
It was Norman
Steinberg.
Yeah, he actually wrote the.
And that is the most funny thing of all for her. But he's even very, very funny. He's very funny himself. He made many other movies. And like you hear, I invite this girl to hear me to sing, and she said, well, opera puts me to sleep. And I say, no, because you did not hear myself. All this kind of Italian approach, you you try to make. And at the very end, it did work very well.
Now, this is about an opera star who is touring the United States, falls in love with the throat doctor, right?
Well, yes, problem with the throat, and the doctor who come to see him is this fantastic girl, and
Bingo. Yeah. Has that anything like that ever happened in your life?
Not yet.
What was the purpose of you making a film? Because you really, you don't really need to be making films.
It is absolutely true. I don't need to make a film, but MGM proposed me, I think, a very good subject with a great director, a very beautiful script, and we did make the movie, and we hope it is going to have a success. Of course, it's a kind of movie then. It's not one night explosion. It's a movie who is going to stay a long time, and we hope to have success.
Yeah, you hope to attract more people to opera through the film?
That is the purpose.
Yeah.
If we don't do that,
Luciano once asked or said, thank God for eating. If we didn't eat, what could we do? Let me just look something up. That interview was October 26th, 1982, that interview. So, very interestingly, this interview with Luciano Pavarotti was October 26th, 1982. So on October 26, 1982, the Dow Jones opened at $995. The high was $1,006. The low was $979, and it closed at $1,006.07. So in 1982, the Dow was $1,000 at the end of October. $1,000. It's a nice run, huh? The Dow today is $41,000, 41,254. So if we do quick arithmetic over the last 40 years, 42 years, the Dow is up 40 times. 40 times. You know what would be interesting? Gold price, October of 1982. Okay. So gold, annoying. All right, and let's use the same approximate time frame. October 29th, gold was $423 an ounce. $423 an ounce. Today, gold is $2,500 an ounce. So gold is up 5 times in that time frame. The Dow's up 40 times, gold's up 5 times. Platinum's 938. And there we go. All right. I will call Ham in a second. Let me see what well, fingers down 6 cents. The logic's up a little bit, but nothing exciting yet. It's the last day before September. I think things on a lot of fronts will change next week, next month. Carlos Alcaraz bombed out of the U.S. Open. For those who told me that Djokovic is over and Alcaraz is going to win, well, just shows that that's what they go ahead and play the match for. So apparently last year cost $150 billion for migrants. I guess it's a good investment. Majority of Americans can no longer afford a house. I'm just trying to see if there's any news on our election. There doesn't seem to be any breaking news on the election. Oh gosh. A major retailer is moving from New York to Florida. Foot Locker. Foot Locker is moving from New York to Florida. We've got a new bird flu strain, so I guess that'll affect the election. One more place, and then I'll look at your questions. All right, we'll leave all that alone. Let me see what you're saying. Not very many of you today. Hey, Darren. Hey, Pilot to the Moon. Hey, David. Hey, Frankie. Hey, Charlie Mac. Fraudulent Friday. That's a good name, Fraudulent Friday. Kill V. Horner. Hey, Gretchen. Puppy dog. Greens. Mexican. Buenos dias. Buenas tardes, amigo. Hey, Donna. MMLS. Well, I don't know much about it other than what Ham said yesterday. That's called a tip. HNRC. I don't really have thoughts per se yet. I'm I'm hopeful to buy HNRC after maybe a little bit of a move in something else. But my overall observation on it is that he's got the great vision. He's focused in all the right areas. The delay in announcements, the delay in events, I can't explain. And I've tried to get a hold of him. I'm going to try to see him maybe in October when I go down to homecoming if he's there. That's good and bad. On the good side, I think he's trying to get things done that are going to add value to the shareholders. And remember, he's one of the largest shareholders anyway. What's bad is, why is it taking so long? And I don't have an answer to that. I do know that his biggest asset by potential net asset value is Cunningham Energy's assets in West Virginia and around there. That a lot of that's natural gas, and natural gas has been under pricing pressure. I think that should he develop those, and I think he will, I don't see any reason why he won't. That gives a lot of leverage to the upside, because I think natural gas is the gas prices at some point will turn around and snap back up. It's a wintertime event though, so it's a little bit down the road. I don't know. I can't explain why Worldwide Holdings has taken so long. So let me look into it. I still very much like the overall theme of that stock. He is a bit of a, what do you call it, a financial engineer. And there's the one risk that I'm worried about. He did a $10 million financing. I haven't been able to figure out with whom. Maybe it's been announced by now. It's always possible he did a toxic note. but I have no evidence of that. So I guess let me look into it. I think we'll start seeing good things by the end of the year, but let me look into it. Hey, Robert. Good to see you. Lee, Kryptonian, Mario. I thought there was a Mario. Hey, Ted. I don't know. There must be a reason that we're not being told for 20 million people to be invited into our country. It could be for the election. It could be they're going to give votes, give them driver's license, and then they can vote for Biden. Well, for Kamala. Could be that. But it also could be that policymakers have looked at our demographics and like every other country, and I'm not putting a value on this, but every other country who has educated their women equal to men, and in fact, in the United States, 60 or 65% of college degrees, over 60% of doctorates, doctors, lawyers are women. The education is women. So the net impact of that, and I'm not putting a value on it, is that women are delaying having children. And women, if they are going to have children, tend to have one, maybe two children later in life. And so our population is not having enough children to sustain itself or to grow. So possibly there is a grander goal by someone. I don't know, the banks, by government, by someone, to make sure that our population keeps up with our demand for labor and other, and not just labor, brains and hard work and creativity. It's just a big change. It's a big experiment, and we don't know how it all turns out. It's just change. And so maybe that's why they let 20 million people in, for the children, and to replace, I don't know. I think we need to be fair to the migrants that come into work, and we don't give them Social Security. We don't give them wage benefits, bargaining benefits, and we don't give them health care, and they get abused by industrialists and even homeowners that, so it's not an easy topic. And I think human beings that come here to work and give economic value in the United States should be afforded some of the same protections that all workers and all citizens have. But that's slightly different than flying people in from around the world to rig the vote. MLSS, is it going, Mario? Super Mario? Hey, Andres, a cute kid having fun. That looks like a lot of fun. You keep asking, everybody does, not you, Andres, but Logic is the exact same situation it was. And I've printed out the news somewhere over here, but just to do it from memory, about a month ago, Logic announced that they had finalized their deal, definitive deal, binding deal, whatever, to buy $100 million valuation Medtronics or something like that. You can look it up. We get 15%. That deal works out to 5 cents a share for us. Now, the criminals sell stock they don't own. If you're the Amex guy, you believe there's systems in place, so it's all legitimate short selling. But I would argue they also break the law because they sell stock that they haven't located, even if they buy it back during the day. I don't think they do. But that's his contention, is that they do. But in the press release of a month ago, Logic announced that they were going to do 6 additional acquisitions. It might be 5, depending on how you read the release, depending on how you count Medtronics. But let's just call it 6 in total with Meta Labs. I think it's Meta Labs. And they say the valuation will be greater than $750 million. Well, if you use 800 million, that's greater than 750 million. And you assume, this is one risk, Andres, you assume that Brent, the CEO, understands that he should negotiate with the 6 companies to close on the I'm making that up, $800 million valuation, all at the same time. It's 6 different valuations, but cumulatively over 750 million, it says in the press release. If you use 800 million, well, there's just about 280 million shares outstanding, and that number is up because of the disastrous deal that Chadron Advisors and Aubrey Advisors did as sponsors to the SPAC and the D-SPAC. There's no way around it. They're either incompetent, they don't know what they're doing, lazy, or they were in on it. It was a setup from the beginning. I believe it was a setup from the beginning. But anyway, if they do these transactions all basically at the same time, the amount of shares in total, which will be outstanding, is roughly 2 billion. If you just do the arithmetic on that, it's somewhere plus or minus 50 cents a share. Well, it could be as low as 35 cents, maybe as high as 55, 60 cents. Now, the risk is the criminals keep selling, so the CEOs say, hey, that's not fair. I agreed to do my transaction at 5 cents, and now they've got it down to 1 cent. I want to tear up our agreement. That's what the criminals do. That's what Adina Friedman and Wagner don't care about. That's what Gary Gensler is in on. This is how the big funds on Wall Street make outsized returns, by cheating, by breaking securities laws. But I believe, Andres, that Brent Sung, the CEO, does understand this dynamic. So I think that it's an art, not a science, as close to possible, the number of shares that will be created will be around 2 billion total. Maybe it's a little bit more, maybe a little less, to acquire these 6 companies. Let's just use 50 cents and acknowledge that we don't know exactly, and that might be high. The stock's trading at 2 cents. Once they make these announcements, which it's in writing, they're all in the LOI stage. One is finalized. The rest are supposed to be done. I forget the date he gave, but pretty much now, or as close to now as possible. So 50 cents, 2 cents. It's easy to borrow. Because of Aubrey Advisors and Chadron and Polar Investments, I recommend any CEO that hears these names runs away. You can't trust them. But because of them, there's this massive selling of stock that doesn't exist. I think that selling will continue until these deals are announced. Hopefully they'll be announced in a final way. They'll say, because of these transactions, Logic's going to issue 2 billion shares. And it won't be left to chance. Then it won't matter what the criminals do. They could drive the stock down to a penny. It won't matter. It's already been agreed, locked in stone. I hope that's what Brent Sun's doing. Let's assume he's not doing that. Let's assume he's getting fooled by the liars at Aubrey and Chadron and all the other pretenders on Wall Street and the lawyers who were liars. Well, let's knock 50 cents down to 25 cents. Let's assume he issues 4 billion shares. 25 cents. The stock's at 2 cents right now, 2.5 cents. So to go from 2.5 cents to 25 cents is 10x. I think when these things are announced, the stock will go up. Do you think the shorts can short into predictable revenue, growing revenue, and exploding product development? I don't think so. Now, remember, Andres, Logic has that we've already voted to do a 1-for-50 reverse split. So all of the criminals from Ionic, from the Neo Exchange, from the last Aubrey Advisors, Chadron Financial, Polar disaster, all of that illegal counterfeiting, but the guy on the MX says, hey, there's systems in place. You can't prove that. It's normal. It's just they're good clients. You don't see when they buy back. So there's two sides of it. But all of that counterfeiting and creating of supply, which has driven the stock down to as low as a penny, I don't know how much it is. I can't give you a guess. But for every 50 shares which was sold without delivery, the money is sitting in a prime brokerage account. And the criminal can't take that money out until that trade is settled. By doing a 1-for-50 reverse split, 49 out of the 50 shares no longer are undelivered. 49 shares no longer need a maintenance requirement on it. It's all been rolled into one. So the criminals are going to get a one-off reward for all of their activity over the last 3 years. Remember, with the Neo Exchange, the deal was done at $3. And there were 4 so-called Wall Street fundraisers involved. They're just all fronts. They're all fronts for Toronto selling, for Germany selling, Panama selling. They're all fronts. They're all liars. And the lawyers they hire are all liars. And Wall Street itself is a big fat lie. Gary Gensler is a liar. They're all liars. But if we start at 50 cents, cut it in half to 25 cents, the stock right now is trading at 0.0281. Let's call it 2.5. You could probably buy it at 2.5 cents. Well, if it goes to 25 cents, you make 10 times on your money. But do you think the company is that the shorts are going to sell it down? You're at 2 billion, 1-for-50. You've got basically, to my memory, a $25 stock trading on the New York Stock Exchange, trading on Adina Friedman's fraudulent NASDAQ exchange. But it's $25 and it has revenues and it has upside. And they're not done at 6 companies. They're going to acquire more. So are they truly going to short the stock downward? It's up to you, Andres. I believe, look, you're impatient because it's August and you can't accept the fact that you're working, but on Wall Street, people don't work that hard during August. They go to the Hamptons, They go to Italy. They go down to Fiji. They do other things. The wealthy investors are off the coast of France. They're at the Red Sea. They're visiting London. They're traveling. But you can't accept that. You want to know news right now. Well, the fact is, my experience, I guess it's not a fact. Wall Street is on vacation right now. When they come back to their desks in September, I think, and Ham doesn't understand my analogy to coming back to school, but I think when everyone goes back to school, you're going to see activity. And I believe logic, at long last, is going to start announcing these deals. My opinion, Andres, I'm glad he's waiting. If he had announced just the first deal, $100 million valuation, we get 15%, that would be 2 billion shares issued just for that 100 million. If instead he's waiting to announce so he can finalize these other 5 or 6 companies, so it's 800 billion, for the same 2 billion shares, you're stuffing 800 million in value instead of 100 million in value. I'm fine with the wait. I hope that's what he's doing. I'm fine with the wait. But if you're impatient for it, you don't have to hold on. You can move on, take your losses, and move into something one of the guys comes on here and talks about. But I personally think the risk you run into if you listen to guys on this come on and say, hey, WTO's running, it's up from 5 cents. It's 13 cents. They're trying to get you to want action right away. I want action right away. I want returns. Why aren't I in on it? And then you move over and you buy it at 13 cents. Well, it's 7 cents today. So I would hold on to logic. I know it's a pain. Here we go. Yeah. I got to get the speaker on. It's coming.
Battery 80%. Connected to Bill's iPhone.
Okay, you're on.
I just wanted to let you know that a friend of mine that works at a big Wall Street firm told me to pay attention to Figure Motion and their big data business. And I have to assume that the company spoke with that brokerage firm. He wasn't in on the meeting, but I guess they spoke, and they said to focus on the data arm, and I guess Munich Re, the revenue is going to start to pour in on that. So I went to the videos and I saw the CEO speaking about Munich Re. I put it up so you can look at it. I completely forgot.
Well, he told me when I interviewed him, I think he said right about the third quarter they expected possibly to monetize Munich Re and Pacific Life.
So I think if that's being told to analysts, that could be a huge that could be the beginning of the end for these idiots. But listen, there's many things, moving parts to this thing. I can't keep up on all of them. But as you look at it, one gentleman just put up fundamentals, and he was talking about the that business with the app.
Oh, yeah, Juju.
The car care revolution is here. That's what he put up. G car care revolution is here for Finger Motion.
Yeah.
To download the app. So I just did a little Google search, and the Google search showed me that there's over 330 million cars in China and growing at 100%. I mean, just obviously it's going to keep growing. There's so many people. And just think of the data for the insurance companies, the reinsurances on car insurance, life insurance. They can tell everything on how you're driving. They need all that data. And it's just enormous. And this company is being naked shorted and held down because people, the guys that are doing this are just criminals. They have no idea what they're doing. All the information is right there, and the CEO has said it numerous times. We collect the data, not off of one person. We don't know their names, but we know their age. We know all the stuff that we need to know. And they compile it, and they're making a model that's designed for the insurance industry. Now, the Munich Re I put up this morning, is a $73 billion market cap company doing business with the stock that's $2.20. So if they believe in finger motion, we're to believe that Munich Re believes in it, but Lind Partners is shorting it because they think they're a naked short, a toxic lender, and they're trapped. All these things, I know they try to create this illusion that the company is bad because they need to cover. That's all you're seeing. That's what I see. Everybody knows it. If the difference between this company and all these other companies is that the company actually has a real business and they're in business already. Companies like GameStop they squeeze the shorts already. Now they have the money and now they're trying to build a business, right? They're trying to build a business now. Finger Motion has the business, all right? So they built it because on government contracts from the government of China. So it's a very different situation, and you have to look at it from that angle. And that this company, people always get nervous. What's the future of this company? The future of this company is just go through each one of their articles and go look at the CEO's video, the CEO telling you the story. And it just seems to me like it's jumping out of the screen. I mean, this thing every time I read it, I forget half the shit. And it looks like it's getting stronger every second. And this company is 100% tied to the Chinese government. And, whoever's behind this thing, whoever's in China, they got tremendous contacts. And the company is building a business based on their contacts. And the longer they keep doing the business, the stronger they get. Martin Shen said it in his videos. The more you produce and show the Chinese that you can do the right thing without committing any kind of stupidity, you'll be able to do this forever. And he also said a long time ago, I remember this, the Chinese government doesn't like change. So once they design a system, you're in it, you get to stay with it the whole time. So, I mean, this company, I don't know, listen, where are they going? Right now, they're building the revenue. Once the revenue starts to come, then we can decide and say, okay, this company's in the late stages or early stages. They haven't even warmed up yet. So, I mean, just do the videos. Just look at the videos. Listen to the CEO. Jot it down. Come back with questions. You know what? We don't know everything that's going on. We're just following with the bouncing ball here. And, as working on Wall Street before, not many small companies have relationships or press releases tied to major companies that are worth $70 billion. If they just get a crumb of something from the $73 billion giant, it's worth millions and millions of dollars. I don't know, William. That's how I see it.
It's pretty good assumption. Yeah. The most important thing is as that becomes visible, and maybe a research report will help that, the market will start discounting the future revenues to today. It's going to be harder and harder for the criminals to fool you into selling at $2.
The funny thing, William, I'll give you an example, KNW. And the only reason I keep pissing on this company because, I'm trying to help the shareholders out. I put it up before February 29th, the stock was 90 cents when the Lind deal came out. Now, I'm sure it was higher. I didn't go back and look. Obviously the day they announced it, Lind's already started selling it way before that. So I'm just going to use that day, which was 90 cents. It's 30 cents. All right. So when it got the money, it was 90. Now it's 30. On top of that, Benchmark came in and gave him another $5 million. And Lynn hasn't even converted yet. So you got 2 debt spirals on here. Then they did another one. It's going to be 3.5 million, and then another one for 1.5 million or $2 million. So there's 3 debt spiral notes on here with dilution and warrants everywhere. And the stock is 29 to 30 cents, okay? 600 to buy, 550, 400 for sale, and no one's hitting the bids. It's very quiet. Meaning that, how come no one's knocking it down? Because they're looking for people to come in and buy it. They want to sell stock. They can't sell this thing while it's collapsing. They're trying to get people to buy it. Big emotion, they did that already, and now they trapped themselves. And you can see the manipulation. Every second there's a seller, 300, 200, 300, 200, because they need to move this along faster. They're trying to get people to come out of finger motion. And in KNW, they're trying to rope people into buying it. And they can't rope people into buying something if it keeps crashing down. So they stop selling. So they're just waiting for people to buy it. It's like, what do you call it? It's like an ambush. They're waiting for you in the bushes. And finger motion, they're standing out in the open, just trying to knock it down every second of the day. They've been doing it at 4 o'clock in the morning. They try to print the lower. Very different trading patterns. So again, this is all a big con to get you to sell. Lynn Partners is notorious. Lynn Partners has to have ties to Canaccord. Lynn Partners has to have ties to that Anson fund in Canada with the, what's his name, Jeff Easton and Philip Lavaliere, whatever the hell his name is. He's the guy that's from Toronto. These guys all run in the same circles. Canaccord knows about them. The chairman of Canaccord is under investigation from the DOJ. Obviously, he knows all the criminals that are doing business through there. And guess what? I'm sure, William, the CEO of Canaccord, if you get introduced to them from Anson and they say, hey, this is Jeff Easton, he's a buddy of mine from New York. He likes to do naked short selling too. The CEO of Canaccord is going to come on to my office. And he's going to say to them, we're going to let you naked short, but you got to pay me. I'm the toll collector here. You got to pay me before I let you go to do this, because he knows what you're doing. Remember, everybody wants a piece of these guys. They're not letting you steal without getting paid. Am I correct, William?
Yeah. Everybody
So the
gets
chairman
paid.
of Canaccord, he probably has a group of people, many, who are looking for avenues. Once a gateway opens and all the devils can run through it and naked short and do everything, they all do the same thing. They all get the introduction. And I could see that Canaccord, we know, I reported on Canaccord, they were destroying GTII. I posted it every day. So that chairman of Canaccord, once he gets caught and gets charged by the DOJ, he'll start giving up all the guys that are doing the naked short selling through Canaccord. And that's how they catch more guys. It takes a little time, but I told you the low-hanging fruit's going to go first. None of us knew who the Anson Fund was. I didn't know. But that story started popping up, and guess what? They're all getting arrested now. I had no idea. I've never heard of the Anson Fund. And now you read the story about them, you can see how deep it is. They roped in a brokerage firm. They're roping this guys from Oppenheimer, CIBC. Everybody's been taken on. Everybody's getting caught. And that's what happens. Anyway, I just looked at that GDC for a second. I still think that $6.50, where the next leg it starts to run at that point. It got to 6.25 today. That stock just doesn't go down. It's 276,000 shares have traded. It's up on the day. It's green again, up 28 cents. You know, it's the same stupid pattern, but there's someone definitely accumulating this thing. I don't know who it is, but there's someone here and people know about it, because every time it dips, it comes right back. They keep trying to drop it, but it comes right back. Drop it, comes right back. It's just a matter of time for the next surge up. It goes through that 650, and I think that's what sets it off again. So that was that. What else, William? Anything else?
How's Florida State doing?
They played their first game on Monday. against Boston College. It's the first game of the season.
They're not so tough.
Well, whoever asked that question, they already lost. So whoever's a smart ass goes.
I'm the smart ass. I'm the smart ass. I'm the smart ass.
Wait, give me 1 second. I just have to help my wife. Hold on.
Wow, West Virginia. And Washington County. I've been to Washington County. There's a guy who has a great project in the, for natural gas, primarily oil too. Anyway, I met his team there. It's beautiful.
I don't know anything about natural gas. I heard you talking. I don't know anything about natural gas. I don't play those names. I never knew those names. I wasn't. The only thing I ever played in my life was the Texaco Pennzoil lawsuit, back and forth until Texaco finally bought them. That I understood. But
you know T. Boone Pickens.
Yes, T. Boone Pickens. Yes, is he still alive? I think he passed away. He was the biggest supporter of Oklahoma State football team.
I think he's got to be gone by now, but
yeah, I think he did pass away.
He did have a young wife, and
one of my clients just passed away. My client was Ivan Boesky. If anyone does any legwork and to see who he was.
Wow.
So I mean, I kind of knew some pretty good players back in the day. But anyway, yeah, that's why I try to tell people Wall Street's a small place. We all recommend each other. When they ask me for a good broker at, if they're working with me, they're looking for someone at Goldman, I would say, hey, call up Tony, call up, whoever. They'll give his number, and they would go to them and give him the business, and they would thank me. The guy at Goldman would thank me and give me one of his clients. And that's how you do it, because, clients like to get different places to execute. Listen, people, if everyone keeps selling the stock through one firm, everyone's going to figure out where the seller is, right?
Right.
So if you're a hedge fund, you give the orders to multiple people so the selling doesn't look concentrated or the buying doesn't look concentrated. These are little tricks. It's not easy to do these big orders, so they have to spread it around. And that's what they used to do in GTII, and I assume they're doing in Finger through these black boxes, which I can't tell who's selling what. These market makers, I can't tell who's doing what. The one thing I can do tell is that they sell and they don't buy back. That I can tell you.
Everybody always asks about the Finger dividend coming. I think it'll be September.
Listen. We think it's September. I can't. We don't have the actual.
No.
We can only go by what they've done with the SEC. The CEO told us on his last interview that they've been corresponding with the SEC. So it's in motion. Based on that, anybody can call up anyone who's a security lawyer and show them the dates, and they'll say, okay, based on this is where I think you'll start to see the approval. I've spoken to one guy, and he said the SEC would have squashed it already. All right, not let it drag on this long and go back and forth with a company with questions. I think every time the SEC asks a question, the company has to respond and go back. That takes about, between them reading it, the SEC coming up with the question, submitting it back, it's probably 10, 12 business days back and forth. And that's what takes the time. They go back and forth. So if they have a question, they come back and they ask it again, and it just keeps going back and forth. That's what happens. That's why, that doesn't move in a second where they just give them something and they stamp the approval. But it's funny, though. In Finger Motion's case, it seems that when they submit something in China, they get a stamp of approval in a second. I guess it pays to know people in the government, right, William? What do you think of that?
That's a good point.
I think when Finger Motion gets a contract, it looks like they're walking down the street, someone taps them on the shoulder and says, hey, you want this contract? Sure, here you go. It's not open to bidding, it's not open to anything, and they just get it.
I think it's the hard work of that investor who didn't come to the dinner in New York. She was in China working hard.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who has all the contacts, but someone is definitely well connected.
Yeah.
And since the company is doing everything correct, the Chinese government is like the CEO said, because as long as you are obeying and doing what's right, the Chinese government will keep rewarding you. So they just recently got a monster deal installing that software or whatever it is into all the emergency vehicles in China. Now, I don't know about you, William, but how does a company that's based in the U.S. have access to every emergency vehicle in China?
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. Nobody
wants to be in China. There's no money there. Come on.
The U.S. government, everybody, Apple, everybody who does business in China would love to have some contract like that. But Finger Motion seems to got it. I don't know how that happened, but that is a amazing contract. And then you got the second part of that is where Munich Re knows that this company has access to the telecoms. No one gets access to the telecoms. Finger Motion does. You can't even walk in the building unless you're a Chinese citizen. Okay? So for them to have access to the Chinese telecoms tells you that these guys are connected. And they're getting contracts in so many different areas, whether it's the text messaging business or this new app where everybody's sort of approving it because it's knighted by the government, or this or that. It just keeps going on and on. And I told you, I followed this company. The only thing they had was just gotten the top-up thing with the Chinese government for the telecom, for the minutes, for the cell phone minutes. That's when I bumped into it. That's all they had, and I thought that was enormous. Now they got 10 new deals, and they just keep coming. But yet, Lynn Partners and who the crooks decide they keep selling it down, no matter what they say. So it's just remarkable. And now this big data, I'm being sort of told to pay attention to it, that's going to get hot and heavy soon. So I don't know the numbers on it, how it works, but I'm sure that a $73 billion reinsurance company that wants to do business in China is going to pay through the nose to get that information. Because once they have it, they'll be the leader in China, correct?
Yeah. So you have to take out a piece of paper and answer this question carefully and in triplicate for the examiner. Deborah's asking you, do you believe that retail should unite? If so, why?
Retail should unite?
Yeah. And if so, why? This is your entire grade for this semester rides on your answer.
Listen, it's the reason the shorts win is because retail does not unite. That's the whole thing. Because everyone on this phone call, and you said Deborah, is that her name?
Deborah, yeah, Deborah.
Deborah is different than me. You're different from her. We're all different. That we all have different financial obligations and needs. Whether a kid has to go to college or there's a medical emergency, and the shorts know this, and that's how they break everybody apart. I 100%, if you haven't followed me before, I always put the picture of the Roman soldiers marching together. My older brother told me the Romans used to win when they marched together. The Roman army was smaller than the barbarians. The barbarians would kill the Romans if they broke apart, meaning the barbarians were stronger fighters. But when the Romans fought together, that's how they beat everyone. Fighting together is how you win. Breaking apart, getting, like what's going on in the United States, they're trying to break us apart, everything starts to fall apart. 100% investors should unite. But the problem is when we unite, it's all basically, we're all different financially. So that's the problem why it's very hard to unite. What we can all unite on is that naked short selling and the counterfeiting of the equity markets is a complete crime against all companies. K&W, I don't know the company. I'm sure the CEO and everybody's a nice person, but they signed a deal. They did a deal with the devil. So why would I let any shareholders walk into that? Anyone lose a penny because they're dealing with these criminals, and we know how they work. So I'm trying to get those shareholders to wake up and do me a favor, like just get away from it. And you sit there, well, how do you know it's not going to turn up? The company's issued like 80 million shares in a month. Where's it going to go? The only thing they can do down the road, the CEO is going to come out and say, I'm sorry, everybody. You know, our technology is great. Our diabetes product is working. It's great. But guess we have too many shares. We're going to have to reverse it. So all the people that have bought this into this hype are going to think they have the winner. And what's going to happen? They're going to reverse it. You're all going to get wiped out. William had a stock that was reversed. William, why don't you tell him your little, in 30 seconds left, tell him how many shares you have left after your...
I guess I probably worked for about 2.5, 3 years raising money for this. I was in London. We raised the money from offshore for this great company in Thoroughfare, New Jersey, a rapid diagnostic testing company. It's doing great. It's got contracts. It's grown. Everything's beautiful, wonderful. But I wanted more. But at the end of the day, I settled for my compensation. I got no cash. I got 150,000 shares, not warrants, just shares of the company. 150,000. It was probably worth at that time 250 grand. I didn't sell it. The company continued to raise money. They listed in London. They did everything, but they got into these financiers. I received in the mail about 4 months ago that they've done the reverse splits. They've raised money. Everything's great with the company. I now have one share instead of 150,000 shares. I have one share trading for $4.
And that is the sorry state of what's going to happen to companies like K&W. It happened to CELU, who I met in person. It happened to MULN, who I spoke to. The GNS did it. They all do it. It's the same thing. They just CEII reversed it. Now it's gone. They all do it. That's how they do it. They flood it. The shares outstanding explode, and then the companies have no choice but to reverse it. And that's how they win. And Finger Motion has been lucky enough. They actually were living on the edge, and my friends invested in Finger Motion, and they paid as high as $10. So people here saying they're underwater, my friend paid 10. 10. Okay? And he's not panicked at all. He's bought more to average down, but he's not panicked at all because he knows the fundamentals are good. Everybody knows how big China is. Everybody knows they want to get into China, but Lynn Partners is so screwed. Them and their offshore buddies are so screwed. They have to do everything to try to get you to panic. And you can see once they push it down here, they start to run out of steam and the selling stops. It's all dried up because they know they're just making the hole deeper and deeper. And I put up a story this morning with that guy, Ian Carroll, who did a description of GameStop. He did a nice little video explaining about short selling and how they make money and how they just keep, destroying companies. He made it very easy. He does nice videos, that guy. But it's very easy to see how the crime works. And so if we were to unite everyone, I think that everyone should just go on Twitter if you can, or wherever you social network, or you tell your friends, stay away. Just repost the obvious. If you don't understand it all, the videos are pretty good. Patrick Byrne has a great video called The Deep Capture Movie. DEEP Capture Movie. Deep Capture the Movie. You can see his video. It's great, very easy to understand. And that's from Patrick Byrne.
That's a lot of ease and deep.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking a lot. I couldn't stop saying the E. But you're too quick. I want to just make sure you're listening, William. That's the whole thing.
That really is deep.
But Patrick Byrne is going to be The president, the next president of the United States, whether you like him, hate him, I don't give a flying shit. He's bringing Patrick Byrne in. If we don't get a financial market that we can make money from, okay, that is fair and square, and not this crooked environment that we live in, no one will ever get financial freedom. You'll just keep trying and losing. That's all they make you do. You keep trying and losing. And I discussed with a good friend of mine, my friend Rob, who you met, William, in Atlantic City, and he says that he's an IR guy, and many stocks that he follows just go down. He has a company I think he's involved with, WRAP Technologies.
I thought it was a radio station.
No, it's like the taser guns. And I remember when Taser was the same thing was happening with Taser. Taser was saving people because they were using the Taser to stop the criminals, and the shorts were beating it up. You know, they're electrocuting people, and it's not good. You know, they'd rather get you shot by a gun. But anyway, Taser finally got the approval, and the stock went to the moon on a big short squeeze. Well, this company, Wrap, and in his videos, you can go watch it, the police come at you and have this little gun, and they shoot it around your legs. And as they hit the gun, it goes boom, and you're wrapped up. You fall down. This thing it wraps around you so fast you can't move as a criminal. It ties your legs up, like tying up a cattle. And they were soliciting it to the police. And this video is about the police showing you how it works. And you should look into it. But the stock went from $7 straight down to $1.60. You know, it just went straight down.
Let's have some fun with retail.
Hold on a second, William. Give me 1 second. Hey, William, I have my grandson with me. He wants to say something to you. Go ahead. Tell William. Say finger. Go ahead. You can say it. Hold on a second, William. He's leaving. Hold on.
Tell him he's a cutie pie.
All right, William, I'm sorry. Just came to visit.
Here's Deborah says, I think if retail unites, we can all donate to giving a better life to elephants. I like that.
Listen, I'm an animal person. If God forbid I see a deer killed on the road or a groundhog, whatever, I drive a different way. I won't even go back that way. It bothers me so much. If it was a naked short, I would turn around, run them over, back up, spit on them, piss on them, you name it. But I just get upset about it. But anyway, I get uniting. I got it. The only way we can unite, and if you ever wanted to set up a little trust or a fund that we can get more money and everybody kick in $1, we could put the truck weekly out in front of the SEC. It costs about $1,700. And we could do that. If shareholders want to unite, we can embarrass the SEC to death. I just don't have the funds to do it. You know, I would always donate, but I just don't have the funds to do it myself. I mean, that's the only thing we could do. And educate your friends. No one should be in this market at all, unless you're a professional, okay? And I'm trying to show you, I give you my opinions on GDC. As a professional, I told you that you can see underlying strength that someone's here trying to buy. You can see it and you can feel it. That comes from years of trading. So if I did it every day, I could have bought stock. Even if I bought 1,000 shares at $560, $570, it runs up to $520, $550. It did it 3 times already. I can make 60 cents. That's on 1,000 shares. That's 600. That's 3 times. That's 1,800 this week. That's just buying 1,000 shares of stock. Think about it. You're making almost 2,000 a week. It's 8,000 a month. I mean, it's not like I'm making a zillion dollars, but 8,000 a month doing nothing that's a good limit.
Yeah.
And that's professional trading. Most people here aren't professionals. GDC just happens to be something, the flavor of the week that's in play. this will be gone, when next explosion, hopefully it goes to 40. But you know what? As a trader, I'm here to make 10,000 a month. I'm not looking for 10 million a month. And that's how I look at it. Don't get me wrong. I know people want to sit here and buy 1,000, 2,000 shares, buy it at 6, sell it at 60. I got it. But to me, this isn't the stock that, I think it's going to go. I 100% think it's going to go, but I don't know everything about it. In finger motion, I've detailed it with William. I've been following it for a long time. We have all the information you want. Not inside information. We have all the information. It's all on the tape. It's right here. We can see the company's fundamentals are strong. We know how big the short is. We know who the toxic guy is. We know what's upcoming with Pat Byrne. We know all the future that's happening, a special dividend. We could see all the different things. I did not see that in GameStop. When I did my report on GameStop, I knew about it. I knew the short was big, but I didn't really study it the way I have now. All right? And they break when they go. And, people sit there, well, how come you're so great at this? How come you don't pick them all? Well, I picked GameStop. I had Bed Bath & Beyond, went from $3 to $30-something. I had many in between. I don't want to, these are the ones that everyone has seen. I just gave you GDC. Finger motion went from 1 to 10. GTII went from 60 cents to 30 cents to 9. Okay, I'm here for the home run swing, and I'm down to following finger motion. And when GTI gets its act together with the new trustee and whatever they get going there, that will turn around in due time. And that's how I see. You have to study certain stocks. You can't be in every one of them. I follow Nvidia, I follow Apple, but those are trading stocks. There's nothing you can do. I don't know everything about Nvidia's AI chips. I know nothing about these things. But just remember, the shorts are after those names too. They don't let them get away. There's always a negative story lurking. You got to be careful in those names. Like you saw Warren Buffett said he was selling Apple. The stock dropped to 212. How many people bailed out? Then the stock rallied always back up to 227. And I look at it, okay, if Warren Buffett sold it, he's done. It starts to rally. You buy it, you flip it, you make a couple bucks. Now it rallies to 230. He still has half of his position. Does he sell the balance of it? If Warren Buffett sold half, that means he's selling the rest. It's just a matter of when he's going to do it. So I'm just saying, so what's the rush in buying it? That's how I look at things as a trader.
That might be driven by tax policy too. He might be predicting what's coming in terms of taxes.
Right. And I'm looking at it saying, okay, I'm not in the game of playing these $200 stocks, $300 stocks, because the shorts do attack those names because they know they can drop them quickly, $10 or $15. That's what they're doing. William, I spoke this morning. I just want people to understand this. I spoke this morning about GDC. If you just add a zero to GDC, it was $1. Add a zero, make it $10. You're just changing the numbers. It went from $10. You went to 12. Add a zero. That's $120. That's how big a move that stock has made. So, people think, oh, it's only went to 12. It went from 1 to 12. That's like a stock going from $10 to $120. The same numbers. All right? So that move is massive. And for the guys on the other side of that coin, they got bludgeoned. That is an enormous loss. Enormous.
It's not
all right?
over.
Because they sell more shares. Excuse me?
It's not over. It looks like it's going up.
No, I don't think it's over. But I'm just saying that these numbers, people have to understand, that's a massive number. Just look at it like that. I was always told, look at it like that. That's a massive move.
Yeah.
Not every stock is going to go from $1 to 1,000 or 2,000. I don't know enough information about GDC to even advise you about that. I can tell you about the short, the number, and people buying it. And I can see who's buying it, and that's the only reason I followed it. Okay, so that's how the game is played. But in finger motion, I can't post any more information about it. I twisted the information to you so you can educate yourself every which way, from the company's angle, from our angle, from the shorts angle. The short position here is so upside down. And I told you, if the stock was 20, there's wiggle room, or they can create volatility from that $20 level. Well, where are they going here? They pushed it from 3. It went from 2 to 3 back to 2.25. That's their volatility, trying to get people to come out of the stock. That's it. Where are they going to go with it? At some point, they have to stop. The company's worth 5. Benchmark told us that in a report. And the company's only gotten stronger from that point. So what's the bottom of it? 7? Okay, 7 is trading at 2. Why is it trading at 2? Because people are just attacking it. There's no other reason. And people, that GDC, I think if it breaks 650, I think that's when it breaks the next leg and it starts to go back up again. You can see as it starts to move up here that there's no bid. Strange. There's always 100 shares to buy, and there's always a seller of 4,000. Always a seller, no buyer. And if you go back to the Tom Gera, the head of the NASDAQ VP, back in 2007 or 6, whenever he said that we don't need people to be market makers if all they do is sell. Well, that's what these guys are doing. They're all market makers using the market maker exemption, and all they do is sell. That's the loophole. But it comes to a point, and this is important, because I spoke to Cream Cheese, my friend Cream Cheese, about this, the guy who bought his wife the fake Coach bag the other day, who got busted 20 years later. Imagine that. For those of you, I'm just going to stop for a second. A good friend of mine, he bought his wife a Coach pocketbook off the street one time 20 years ago. He brought it home to her with flowers, gave it to her as a gift. He winds up getting divorced from her. He gets a call the other day from his daughter saying that her mom went back to the Coach store because the handle broke. And the Coach told him that the bag was a fake. The woman, he said the woman was fainting of embarrassment because she had a fake bag. And he got her back after all these years, not counting on that, but it's funny, he came back and bit him on the ass 20 years later. But anyway, he kept saying, there's no laws. How do you win when there's no law against this? I mean, there is laws against it. No one's enforcing it. And I keep trying to tell them, if they thought they can win, they'd let the stock go higher. That's just, GDC wants to go higher. Let the shorts, let it run to $20. What's the big deal? Let it run to $30. Who cares? They can't let it go up because they can't meet the margin requirements. That's the whole game. Finger motion, how close we were to the real short. His average price is 265 going lower of 1.4 million shares, right? I told you today, 265. It busted through it. How fast did they push it back below? They were in a panic getting that below because that was going to be forced to cover. Again, you can see how they're trapping themselves. Their actions or the trading in the stock will tell you how close they are to death. The other day, they were close to death. It went to 318 and they pushed it down to 220. As fast as it went up, they're pushing it back down. Selling, they want to get less. When you want to sell 1 million shares at 4, then 1 million shares at 2, right? Up at 4, you don't have to sell 500,000 shares to get the same money you're selling at 2. But yet they'd rather sell 1 million shares at 2. There's no logic to that. That just tells you that they cannot let it go higher. And it's the same pattern all the time in all the stocks. And that's what goes on there. So back to Debbie. Yes, Deborah. Yes, shareholders should unite, but it's very hard to unite because everyone has different financial concerns. And you know what? We don't believe in diamond hands, everybody holding on forever. No one can do that. That's impossible to do.
So Deborah gives you, on your last answer, she gave you a B+. So she's giving you another question for extra credit. Why, to him, why do you still choose to highlight MMTLP on your trucks?
Because I know people that are in it, and I feel terrible for what's happened to them. All right? I think it's It only helps us. You wanted shareholders to unite. I'm here trying to unite with them. I have no problem helping them out. I did help them out. I introduced them to Wes Christian. I introduced them to Charlie Payne. I went to D.C., handed out things with honor, right?
Mhm.
I went into every office. I taught that guy Pete Sessions, right? I was in there. I did it.
Yeah, I got pictures
I
to
drove down
prove it.
I drove down, parked my car, walked, drove always back home, 6 hours back and forth. I did my time. I did whatever I can help. So people say that you want to unite. I stood there and defended them. I went for bat for them. I can't defend it 24/7. I'm not a shareholder. I'm not in the front line of that fight with everybody else, but I would be gladly trying to do whatever I can to help anybody.
All right, she's now giving you a grade of 110%. You
Thank you
passed
very
the
much.
course. You passed this course with an A+.
I have a funny story to tell you about that. I was playing pickleball yesterday, and the gentleman on the other side they were playing with hit himself with the paddle, so he was taking a break. So I turned to the woman I was playing with. Her name was Stacy. I said, "Stacy, you're a nurse?" I thought she was a nurse. She goes, "No, I was a school teacher." I said, you were a school teacher? She goes, I just retired. I says, oh. I says, I can guarantee you if I was in your class, I'd have been cheating all the time. She goes, I would have caught you. I says, no way. I designed systems that were flawless. She goes, tell me one. I said, I used to have a girl in high school who made her wear high heels to school when we took tests. And she used to point the toe left, right, or heel left and right to A, B, C, D. She says, oh my God. I said, I never had to look up. I only looked at the floor. And she goes, I never would have caught you. I said,
Wow.
that's pretty funny.
I was always the one cheated on, they would look at me. Whatever.
Well, listen, there's the other side of the coin. There's the people that weren't that bright. And that's why I keep trying to tell you guys, listen, I only know a couple of things, but what I do know I'm very good at, I don't really know. I'm not that bright. And I understand stock trading. I understand numbers. I understand naked short selling. And I think I understand college football. That's about the extent of what I do. Other than that, I'm a complete fool.
How sweet it is to be an idiot.
Right? It is good.
It's a Monty Python song.
All I know is that the guys that we're fighting, if I'm stupid, these guys are brain dead. That's how stupid they are. Because if I can figure out what they're doing, these guys are the stupidest people on the planet.
Well, I read somewhere that stupid people make money. Intelligent people get all confused by things. Stupid people just implement the same thing over and over and over again. Make a lot of money.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. This is extra credit part 2. If there are no laws enforced, why do you still fight?
Because they are the laws are going to be changing in 50 days. After President Trump, the next president of the United States, is going to come. He said already, first day he's firing Gary Gensler. Who's been protecting the crooks? Gary Gensler, right? He knows about the naked shorts. We put the truck in the lobby of the SEC 16 times over the last 4 years. He knows. All right. So if he's out and Patrick Byrne's coming in, and you say, well, how do you know Patrick Byrne's going to come in? Go look at the video. He tells you himself. He said that he's been offered a position in the administration and that he's going to raise his hand when they do win. He's not political. He goes, I never even voted for Trump, but I want to come in and fix the stock settlement system. And it's so funny that I listen. I know Susan Trimbat. Patrick Byrne knows Susan Trimbat. We all know her. She's so smart and too complex on this subject that it gets me dizzy listening to her. And I actually was in a hearing with her.
Does she wear high heels?
No.
That's your problem. You can't tell whether the answer is yes or no.
I can't tell what she's doing, but she is too smart, so complex to understand. She had a video up. She had some little thing about a black hole the other day, about the fails to deliver, goes to the obligation, the warehouse obligation, back in the circle, blah, 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 blah. It's very easy. We're buying something, we want delivery of it. End the conversation. I'm not here to explain the whole stock settlement system to everybody. because no one's ever going to understand what it is. It's musical chairs. We buy a stock, we stop the music, everyone needs to sit down and have a certificate to match what you bought. That's the stock settlement system. And we have to now get someone to do a dividend, because when you have a dividend, you get a record date. The record date means the music stops. The brokerage firms do not want anybody, they don't want anybody to have knowledge of when you stop the settlement system, when you stop the trading, how many shares actually do exist. They won't tell you, they do everything to hide it. That's your own brokerage firm. The strangest thing is that, why would your own broker want you not to make money? Because if you make money, you have more assets, they make interest, they do this, they can sell you more products. That's, to me, it's the strangest thing, that your own broker, G-Trade, Ameritrade, whoever it may be, their interests are more aligned with the other side than they are with you. And to me, that's the most criminal thing of the whole thing, is that your own broker, because when we get a dividend, your broker is the one that has to deliver it to you, and they do everything in their power to lie and say they don't have access to it, and they don't help you get your dividend. William's seen it, everyone else knows about it, and they just do everything to submarine when a company tries to do a dividend. But there's different ways of doing dividends, and a good, thank God we have people that want to try and do different and try and make it happen. A lot of these companies don't do it. GNS, what did he do? The shorts got squeezed. What did he do? He raised the money, did everything he can, cut a deal with the shorts, and now look at his stock. He's reversing it, and he's funded, right? GameStop did the same thing. They covered the shorts, right? They split the stock. I think GameStop. I think they did a forward split, but they split it and they covered the shorts. AMC covered the shorts. Just follow the patterns. It's the same thing. Companies that don't cover the shorts are the ones that I believe in. Companies that try to issue a special dividend and fight back, they fight back quietly, because otherwise the regulators attack them. You can't run down the street with a banner saying kill the naked short sellers because the SEC comes after you. They always shoot the victims. Anyway, I forgot what I was even talking about.
So do you think that they, whoever they are, listen to these calls and then they start selling, set their computers to sell?
Yeah, they do it. Yeah, they do it all the time. Again, where are you going? Where are they going? Finger Motion has traded 100,000 shares. They're going back and forth on 200 shares back and forth, right? Market down, it's down 8 cents. Meanwhile, I just described to you on K&W, which is worth less than a penny, the stock is 29 cents. How come no one sells it down? How come Lynn Partners isn't hitting the 29 bid for 200 shares, pushing it to 28, to 27? How come they're not attacking that one? And it's worthless. They control the company with those notes. 100% they control the company. And in Finger Motion, every second is 100 shares for sale. They'll move it down. They printed at 215. There it is. They printed 215 on 100 shares. And they just make it sound like there's a seller every second of 100, 1 share, 2 share. I put the shares that are sold, the trading, I put it up there every day. I mean, it's like, just watching it is sickening that they're even allowed to even do these trades. They're using small amounts of shares to manipulate the price, whether it's 4 cents, 5 cents. So right now it's down 8 cents. And I know everybody looks at their statement as, oh my God, I'm down $2,000 today, get in the stock. What's going on? What's going on? That Ham and that William, they're full of shit. Like we did it. Like we're sitting here selling 1 share and a 2 share every day. Again, the SEC.
I wish I had sold when everyone said I thinks I did, because I'd be sayonara baby.
Here it is. They hit the 115 bid for 200 shares. It's 114 to 214 to 219. 300 shares by 1,900 shares, and now you'll see in a minute there'll be 1 share traded 214, and everyone says the same thing. Oh my God, the stock is going lower again. That's what they do. That's all they're doing. It's the same pattern over and over. And if people think it doesn't happen, GDC just went from $1, the lower 59 cents after the assault down, went down to 59 cents, then turned and ripped to 12. Right? And you say, well, they didn't, longs didn't win. I know a lot of people made a lot of money on GDC, a lot of money. And you know what, something? They've been buying finger motion because they're not in a panic. They know things turn. And when they do turn, they turn in a big way. So that's the way it goes. I can't tell you the second it's going to turn, but we do have a lot of events telling you the timing of this whole thing. The dividend's coming out. We'll get the record date when that comes out, whatever that is. And what can it be? Another week, another 2 weeks? In 50 days, we get Pat Byrne, which to me is the end of the game. Pat Byrne will 100% not allow another inch, another day, another minute to let these guys manipulate stocks. He knows that a minute, a day hurts investors. He knows who are on the other side of these trades. He knows they threatened his life. Go back and Google Orrin Hatch told Pat Byrne, they're out to kill you. And if there's ever anything happens, I'll get to the bottom of it. That's Orrin Hatch. He was the senator from Utah. He told Pat Byrne, be careful. They're going to try to kill you. He's the most hated man on Wall Street because he's fighting against naked shorts. Why would anybody want to hate him but fight over stock settlement? What's the big deal? Well, because the guys on the other side of the coin have stolen trillions of dollars. All these big hedge funds that you see that you think are celebrities, they all do it. They do it in secondaries. Millennium Capital, Izzy Englander, runs a $10 billion hedge fund. Guy's on his desk. You would call him up and say, hey, Millennium, we're doing a secondary in XYZ. And they go, okay, put me in. I'll buy 500,000 at $50. The stock is 60. What are you going to do with that? Oh, we're going to price it down, 10%, whatever it is. So 60 minus 10%, whatever it may be. What do? They all go out and naked short it, drive the stock down from 60 to 52.
And they do the deal there.
They do the deal 8 points lower, and they cover on the secondary, which is illegal. And Millennium was caught doing it.
Yeah.
$10 billion hedge fund.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
How many times do you think they've done that? A gazillion. They all do it. All these guys make these big returns because they just steal the money. I told you they would need 100 school buses to pick up all the hedge funds that do that trade. And you say, how do they know about the secondary? Well, if I work on an institutional desk and they say our firm's doing a secondary in IBM, I would call up all the hedge funds that own IBM, say we're doing a raise in IBM. How many shares? We're offering 1 million shares. And they say, okay, put me in for 100,000, 200,000. And they're already selling it. Because they know they're going to buy it back from you on the secondary, which is all illegal. GDC, 627, 632. People, I can't advise you what to do, but if you wanted to play the game, if you see it run through 650, maybe one share you could buy just to learn how to trade a short squeeze, because I think you can really pop at that point. Keeps creeping back up. I'm not saying go buy a zillion shares. If you own one, you can learn how to trade. When you buy $6 worth of stock, you're not going to get crushed. But you can learn how to trade a short squeeze. Like I said before, this is like, this is better than going to Harvard Business School, because you're doing it in real time and you'll sit there and you'll watch it and, you'll figure it out. But I've been saying for days, it looks like someone's buying it. The rumors around the street that there's 50 million to buy. And you just start watching the trading, you can see it. And it has an 8-cent spread right now. It was bigger before, meaning the market in the stock is 622 to 630, 8 cents, right? It shows you that the shorts really do not want to sell it down. All right, so finger motion has a 4-cent spread. They want you to sell it at 214. They don't want to sell it at 214. They want you to sell it. All right, so the spreads are, when the spreads start to get wider, If you want to stop a short squeeze, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do that. You ready? GDC. Everyone paying attention now. GDC, there's a huge short in it. So the number one thing they have to do is stop people from buying it. Because the buying puts pressure on them, they have to sell more. So if I was a short seller in the stock, I would be 623 bid, and my offer on the sell side would be 629. I'd be offering the stock at $7. Make the spread 60 cents. And there's no one on this phone would sit there and say, I'm going to go pay up 60 cents for the stock. Eventually, the investors, because no one's paying up, they'll start offering it in front of the $7 offer. Say, screw this, no one's buying it, I'll offer it down. And the next guy will play leapfrog and he'll go in front of it. And the longs will help unwind the stocks themselves. Because the shorts know that investors are not going to keep paying up for it. That's why they make the spread wide. And the way to do it is, if you see a spread like that, you buy half of it or 25% at the offer, and then you bid. Instead of bidding 624, I would bid 620. I would buy 500 at 629, bid 624 for 500. When the 29 goes, and I have another 2,000 to buy, I could buy 500 at 632, bid 626 then. And that's how you're able to buy a stock. Now it's a 9-cent spread again in GDC. So again, you can see how the shorts are moving away. They don't want to sell it lower. They're moving away, saying, screw this. We know there's a big buyer here. I don't want to sell anymore. They don't even want to sell 100 shares. Very different from the other day when they were selling 100 million shares, right? Whatever the hell the number was. Does everyone understand that, William? Any questions on that, what I just said?
There's no questions. Mario wants to know if you bought MLSS.
Yes, I did. 101 I paid.
So it doesn't really matter. But whatever he did, he's not going to change anything. Buy 1,000 shares or whatever.
No, I just told you what I paid. I'm hearing they got a big contract with the government. It's supposed to be coming out any day. It's something to do with the epidural. If you want to read about it, I don't know anything about it. It's something when women have babies, they give you an epidural in the spine for the pain, something like that. It's supposed to be a huge contract. That's all I know.
I'm using this. It's a used computer, but it's new to me. It's amazing. Nothing freezes. Nothing freezes. I'm so grateful to Flying Bus Driver. He sent it to me. It's amazing. everything.
But I have to tell you this, and William, you speak to him, and I met the gentleman, great guy. When GDC was running, I knew he purchased it. I tracked him down, and he was in, I think, the Dominican Republic. He was getting ready to back out of the gate, I guess, in a couple of minutes. And I called him up, and I told him GDC was going, and he asked what you do, and I told him make a sale. So I tracked down an airline pilot and told him to make a sale when the stock was running, while he was almost taking off.
And he backed into the airline next to him.
But I'm just saying that I went out of my way to make sure he made a sale, and I'm happy that he sent you the used computer, and you got a computer.
It's amazing. For me, it's like a brand new thing. It doesn't have any delay. There's no hesitation. There's no overheating. It's just great. So on any of these stocks, is it dangerous to hold them over the 3-day weekend?
There's always danger in any stock. I don't know what's going to happen on Monday, but again, listen, stocks that got 100 million shares short, listen, GDC, the money's been made. So now you're gambling here. It's in no man's land. It's here or there. We don't know what it's going to do. Owning one share, you're risking $6. That's my advice. If you want to ask my advice, that would be it. You can see the shorts keep coming, offering, trying. They're definitely afraid of letting the stocks go up. And the number that they're going to break is right around here because they're trying to put up a little fight here in GDC right now. In finger motion, there's not. I wish I could say something. There's nothing going on. All that's gone on is that longs aren't buying today. Investors don't buy stocks every minute of the day. That's just not normal. And when investors don't buy every second of the day, the shorts can see it. And what do? They mark it down to annoy you. And when you go to buy it, there's no selling. They'll move out of the way, just like they're doing in GDC. But I'm not sitting here promoting the stock and getting off the phone and going to tell my friends to go buy stock. I don't do that.
So
If you ask me, that's a different story.
So if these big changes come and they change the rules or they change the enforcement on settlement, do you think it'll be from day one onward, or will they go backwards? Will they look?
No. You don't grandfather security for it. Come on, I went through that already.
All right.
I fought that battle in 2006. They tried to do that. The SEC tried to slip a move and said they tried to grandfather anyone who naked shorted before a certain time. They were going to grandfather. We went crazy on them, and they eliminated that. They tried that move already. Listen, Pat Byrne, you can't ask for a better person. Impossible. He is brilliant. He understands he had his own little team of people, and he will make sure that he will abuse them to death. He knows who and what's going on. And the best part about it, they're doing to DJT stock. Who in their right mind wants to keep naked shorting that stock? If I was Donald Trump and I was going to be the next president of the United States, you bet your ass I'm going to sit there and say, okay, who shorted my stock when they tried to assassinate me? I want them arrested immediately. I want to know who's doing that. I don't want to know what their ties are to the shooter. That's number one. Devin Nunes has been yelling about naked shorts in that stock. So they know it's here. They're not that stupid. They also know that there's GameStop money around, meaning GameStop made $4 billion without a business. They made it on a short squeeze. DJT has that type of numbers in the stock. They will force the issue. I don't know what day it's coming, but they 100% they will force the issue. Just common sense.
That was your last question.
Well, I'm excited to see if GDC breaks through the 650 today. I think that'll be exciting. And finger motion, I'm watching the never-ending one share back and forth. For some reason, they wanted to trade. They want to print 100 shares at 214, and they just there's no volume, nothing's going on. There's no one selling it. It's just them washing stock back and forth. I can't stop them from selling from one account to another account and back and forth. Fake trades going back and forth. That's all they're doing. As they hit the 214 bid, they hit, and now they sold 1,000 shares, and now it's 211 to 215 on 1,000 shares, whatever it was. That's all they do. Again, the selling is every second in the stock, and I can go right back to KNW. It's 29 bids still. No one sold it there. It's worth a penny. GMGI, same thing. It's 249, 83,000 shares. Has debt spiral all over it, thanks to Lynn Partners. No one sells it because Lynn Partners needs to sell stock to make their money back. They don't make any money back unless they short the stocks. And that's what they want to do. They want someone to come in buying it. That's their pattern. And every time I see GDC go to 633, all of a sudden it's offered at 626. Remember, who wants less all the time? That's all you have to remember. That's all you keep saying. That's all I keep saying. Everyone's trying to. There used to be a time, William, where you put an offer out. There's the print at 212. Oh, sorry, 212. There it is. 113. Still same volume. Nothing going on. Who wants less all the time? That's your classic sign. That's all you have to know. Margin kicks in when you get close to the margin call. That's when they come in and they just naked short whether it's doing to Webbush, an offshore company in Spain, some hedge fund in Spain, someone in the US selling it through their contacts in Spain, Spain back to Canada, Canada back in the US. They route these orders all over the place. And William, what did FINRA always say? Oh, we don't keep track of shorts coming from outside the country, right?
Well, and foreign, that's a legal term for outside of their system. But yeah,
right.
Foreign, they don't track foreign.
They don't track them. How could we have a stock market? It's our rules. And the only person the rules are slanted against are the American citizens. How is that possible? They don't even know who's selling the counterfeit shares. As far as I'm concerned, Jeff Easton has ties to Middle Eastern terrorists. I don't know. Prove us wrong. Where does the money go? Right? Where's all the money going? Well, we know Jeff Easton's sticking it to his friends in Australia. They're up 220%. And again, let me just touch on that again. John Hancock is Jeff Easton's buddy in Australia, one of the richest people in Australia. He's bragging about his Lind Partners Global Fund being up 220%. Lind Partners Global Fund is a toxic lender. That's how they make their money, by lending it out. Every investment that they've lent into a company, how are they making their money back in K&W when the deal was done at 90 cents? Right? How are they making all their money? The stock is 29. Well, they're doing something. They're shorting versus their note. That's what they're doing. That's how they make their money. And again, like the TV or the movie, the producers with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder, Gene Wilder, the original, you make more money with a flop than you do with a hit. They sold 1,000%, not 100%. They sold 1,000% of a play, and they turned it into a flop. Hopefully, the thing was just going to shut its doors, and they would make. They sold 1,000%. They would make all that money. That's the naked short selling business plan. That's it. Keep selling it, and then make it fail, and they get to keep all the money. The weight of all the shares will collapse the stock price. And that's the game plan. This is nothing that's, this isn't like Elon Musk sending up rockets and landing them again. This is like the basic of basic crimes, and no one's stopping them, and everyone knows about it. You tell me what we can do. I'm telling you what to do. Every time someone posts on Twitter and says the U.S. stock market is a complete fraud full of counterfeit shares, that's sending a message. Stay away. That's all you have to say. Stay away. It's all fraud. That's all you got to do. How does the U.S. government deal with it? Everyone knows that the U.S. equity markets is fraud. South Korea, India, Thailand. Who else is moaning about it? China. Everybody yelling about it. And the U.S. equity markets has said nothing throughout that whole thing. Like, silent, right? No one. You haven't heard anything, William, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's yelling about it, and here it is. They just never do anything about it. This isn't weeks. This has been going in since 1988, the cover of Forbes. I know it goes back a little bit further, but the cover of Forbes is basically like we done with the truck. They told the whole world, is it decent back then? Is naked short selling decent? The cover of Forbes from 1988. Well, it's 2024. What's that, 36 years? 36 years. How much money was stolen in 36 years? Just look at GameStop. It's billions of dollars. Billions and billions. How much money did they steal from Mullen? How much money did they steal from this company or that company? Kodak is 1 billion shares. Wolf is 1 billion shares short. Tesla is 1 billion shares short. Not a million, 1 billion. How about the CEI, Charlie Eddie Indian, which I followed, had a big squeeze from $1 to $5, even less to $5. I spoke with the CEO. I said, you got these guys dead. You were trading 1 billion shares a day. So let's say the high, the low, let's say they sold 1 billion shares. I'm going to say at $2, not at $5. I'm going to give it to you at 2 average. It went to 0. They made $2 billion on a $5 stock or $4 stock, whatever it was. $2 billion naked shorting. Because they knew the rules were slanted and no one's going to force settlement. Who would short 1 billion shares of that stock, right?
Mhm.
What idiot would short 230 million shares of FNGR, all right? In a range from here to their average, as I said, 395. Each day it stays below 395.
Mhm.
The average price goes lower. It may be 393 now, but it goes lower every day. It's not going up. When the stock goes above their average and they sell stock higher, their average price will go up. But their average price is, the stock is below. So they're not making more money. They're killing their own average. And when the stock turns and starts to move up and closes that spread, that's when these guys they panic more. Because it's getting closer. Once it goes from the red, it goes from the black for them into the red, that's when they panic. I went back to GameStop. GameStop, I thought the average price on all the shorts, remember GameStop was like a $50 stock in its prime. So let's say the GameStop shorts, the average was what? 20, 25 bucks? It's 3 3/4. The shorts were laughing. We were in the black by 20 bucks. It didn't start really kicking in with gas until it went through that number, 20 something dollars. And that's when it exploded. Once it went through those numbers. Finger motion is $1.50 away. It's 70 cents away, 40 cents away from breaking the real short at 1.4 million. And then $1 from that point, you break the whole naked short. That's how close that is. And that's why I keep trying to tell you, they have no more room to operate. They're in trouble. Debbie, no more questions? Deborah, no more questions?
Let me look. There weren't any, but they might be. What do you think about $100 calls for January? DJT. Buying the $100 calls on DJT for January.
How much are they?
Nothing. He doesn't say. I wouldn't do it. It's too far out. Just buy the 30.
No, listen, if I could buy this stock, let's say you bought 1,000 shares at 25, you're underwater. Once it goes into the black and you sold it at 26, you make $1,000. You could take the $1,000 in profit and go buy calls. And this way you don't have to worry about it anymore. Don't look at it. Buy the January calls, whatever the number it is, who cares? Listen, Pat, for those thinking DJT can't go up, Pat Burns' stock went from 3 to 128 on a special dividend. I put the story up 45 times already. Read it yourself. Google Pat Burns short squeeze. Go read about it. 3 to 128 because of a special dividend. That's what Finger Motion's doing. Finger Motion's different than GTI's dividend because it's a warrant and it'll trade. It'll have its own CUSIP. The day they issue it, the short seller is going to be short 23 million warrants. That warrants comes with liability, meaning they have to put margin money up to maintain the 23 million shares of those warrants. And if the stock goes to 100 and you own a warrant, you own 10,000 shares, you're going to get 10%. You're going to get 1,000 warrants. So if the stock goes to 100, you got a free shot for 2 years. 100 minus 3, you got to pay the company 3. You make $97 for free. Times 1,000 shares. And those guys are going to get short those things because they're just a bunch of idiots. No one wants to be short something they can't deliver. Because guess what? Everybody can see what's going on here. How would the SEC like to come out and say, hey, Finger Motion, we're sorry about that, but you have a problem. There's someone short 23 million these warrants, it's upside down. And that's when you get real lawyers coming in, when the SEC admits to it. And you can see the SEC would never admit to that, William. Correct, William?
Right.
Who's going to be in there? Gensler's getting the boot. Who's going to be putting back in there? Pat Byrne. we're going to have answers. We don't have any answers now. We have a black hole. We put the truck, I put pictures of the truck right outside the door of the SEC. We can't get an answer. But you should have made $100 million by now, all the whistleblowing we've done.
The fine print says that you have to tell them about something they don't know already.
Say it again? Oh, that's what they
I
want to
think
know?
the fine print is that you,
Well, they're not acknowledging it, so we assume they don't know anything about it.
right. The hundreds are 90 cents.
Wow.
That's pretty high.
Why don't you play, is there any, what is it, November, the election? What about December? There's got to be a month in front of it. It's got to be 40 cents or 50 cents.
That's pretty high premium. Those are what you sell. You buy the lower calls and sell those. Buy the 30s and sell those. I don't know. It's up to you.
But it's a spread. If you bought the 30s at $5, let's say, you could sell those at 90, and you got a $30 to $100 spread. The most you can make is 70, right? That's the most you can make.
But you only
Or
paid
60.
$4 instead of $5.
Right. All right. Every time GDC, they offer down, they try, it goes right back 623 to 630 again. There's got to be fails to deliver somewhere in some of these names, right? Big Emotion traded at 1.8 million up to 320. There's not a one, there's not 200, 300,000, which I believe is about 700,000 on that day. Naked shorted shares, T+1. There's not a one failed to deliver. No one's covering a share of anything. Nothing. That's the stock settlement system for everybody here. And I'm sorry that I'm not making you money. I apologize that I can't force it. We're here, or I'm here to change my life, and I believe I have the horse to do it. And I just don't know the timing of it. But I do know the timing now because I know Patrick Byrne's coming in. It's 50 days. Vote for Trump, we get Pat Byrne. And for those of you who don't know Pat Byrne, go look at the movie The Deep Capture, the movie. Go watch that. Go look at any of Pat Byrne's interviews on Naked Short Selling. You tell me if he's passionate about it. And the short sellers could sit there and giggle, blah, 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 Pat Byrne. He will decapitate them. Trust me. He doesn't take shit from anybody. And just go read what he's been doing for the government, for everyone in the U.S., by exposing all the criminal stuff that's going on with the government. He's doing it by himself. He actually told us about how he helped facilitate an $18 million payoff to get Hillary Clinton. That was set up by the FBI. He did that. I think because he's fluent in a couple of languages and they know who he is and they use them for that. Pat Byrne did that. Everybody else is doing nothing compared to what that guy has done. If there's anyone to believe and follow, that's the guy. Come on, people. Ask a question. Let's go.
There aren't any more questions.
I can't play ball for later, so I got nothing to do.
So,
I don't want to make your computer blow up.
no, it's fine.
Oh, the walls are
Not even hot. I knocked my light over. But anyway,
you have a keyboard with that? You got a keyboard? You're okay?
I got a keyboard. I got Stevie Wonder.
Well, thank you to our what do you call him? A bus driver? What do you call him?
Flying bus driver.
Flying bus driver.
Got to fix that light.
Well, guys, if you got nothing to say, I'll go putz around and do something else. I'm trying. Any questions? I'm trying to think. Go watch the video. Go look about big data. Mark that down, people. Big data. I'm hearing that revenue is going to start to get ramped up. Okay, that comes from a guy who works on a trading desk, and I guess his analysts have spoken with the company, and they told him what they really like, and that was one of the points, which I completely forgot about. We got the big data coming out. We got the dividend coming out. We got Pat Burns coming out. We got revenue coming, new deals coming up. You got the car business, the top up with the cell phone business, the charging stations where they make money from that, and you got the every emergency vehicle in China installations doing that. I'm sure they're all being done to make money. Finger Motion is not doing all these projects because they're out of friendship. But we still have someone trying to sell 200 shares of Finger Motion because they don't understand what's going on. They know what's going on. They're screwed. If you were short the stock, let's say you were short the stock at 265, and you got a chance to start covering down here, why wouldn't you? Why would you? The most you can make is 265. Each day that goes by, they got to pay fees on the borrowed shares. And people, I did post up yesterday the communication I had with a shareholder that bought 20,000 shares, who said they were lending out of shares. He got a letter, he got a text message from his broker telling they were lending out of shares. And we got to stop that. So these guys just lend out the shares and don't even think anything about it. They'll do anything. A hedge fund will call them up and says, I'll pay you X amount per day to borrow shares in this stock. And the broker looks around, Charles Schwab, and looks around and says, hey, you know what? We'll lend you 100,000 shares. We want to get paid this much money. And, maybe they cut a deal and say, hey, you got to borrow it, but you got to borrow it for 5 days minimum. And the guy, the short seller, says, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. And they pay him the fee. Remember, stock loan is completely unregistered. It's a black hole. There's no one watching it. Unregulated, excuse me. No, it's unregulated. No one watches. It's the Wild West. They do whatever they want. So, again, there's a lot of criminal activity in stock lending. All right, William, everybody's put me to sleep, and I'm just going to move along here.
All right.
All right, everyone, have a good weekend. If I see anything good, I'll post it, but you know the data. And have a great 3-day weekend. And we'll see you on Tuesday, and I'm sure we'll have a call over the weekend. If I hear anything new, I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Call ended.
This is just an asinine question. I would say the best trade I had, I paid something like 18 cents for Finger Motion, and I sold it at I didn't get $17. I sold it at around $16. I would, off the top of my head, that was probably the best trade I've done. It's an asinine question, and I'm sure you're just curious. What's your best trade? Shorting stock endlessly downward? You try to make $50 a day shorting a stock? Somebody asked about, here it is. What do you think on electric vehicles to oil and gas? I don't think the United States is prepared for electric vehicles. The United States needs to change how we live in order for electric vehicles to ever work. China is doing it. Europe, to the extent that they live in concentrated positions are there, but they don't really have the power grid or the power, maybe France. But we to make electric vehicles work, at least as currently constituted, you've got to just make your cities and towns walking towns and use electric vehicles inside the city boundary and inside the towns, electric vehicles cannot replace highway driving or long haul shipping, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Not yet, anyway. Not yet. I think that the company that's going to benefit from a new technology is Toyota. They've developed a combustion engine using ammonia. You can use offshore wind towers to convert seawater by electrolysis into ammonia and water. And that ammonia will power an engine just as effectively as gasoline. If I were CEO, and they've got a great CEO, I think NextBridge has 3 clear priorities between now and January 1. One, they need to drill 5 wells in the Oro Grande. My opinion, Jason, is the entire 134,000 acres is one unit for purposes of drilling and for purposes of leases. I could be wrong on that, but I think by drilling 5 wells, they hold the entire 134,000 acres. They got to get that done. They got to drill those and complete them by the end of the year. Now, there may be some shades of decision making. Do you go deeper? Do you drill horizontally longer? There may be some science questions they want to do, but that's all going to be determined by how much money they raise, how much time they have. That's number one. That's got to be number one priority. You've got to drill those 5 wells and complete them by the end of the year, because that's how you hold your leases. That's the asset. 2, you as you're drilling, as you use your science, as you use your seismic, are there other leases that you need to pick up? That's 2. Probably not, but possibly. So you go pick those up. 3, you've got to renew the leases. They all expire at the end of the year. You've got to renew those leases for 4 more years, 5 more years. Those are the 3 things for the use of proceeds. I would, and I intend to make an offer of something I'm looking at, but if depending on how much they raised, I think I'd go buy some assets which are cash flowing, but also have upside, developmental upside, perhaps locations to drill. But I would try to to bring in cash flow to NextBridge outside of Oro Grande. What would that do? That would assure to all the boo birds they're going to lose. It would increase value to the company, but it would also allow the Oro Grande to be developed as a tight hole, as a tight field, as a, loose lips sink ships type basis. And the fact is, Jason, I believe oil and gas is suffering from the idiocy of an overly feminized and overly unrealistic educational system at the high level. And the thought processes are completely unrealistic. The planet's overheating, so we're going to just mandate that oil and gas is not going to be used in 15 years. It's ridiculous. Number one, the alternatives, electric vehicles, use a massive amount of fossil fuels. Electricity uses fossil fuels. building cars that use rubber tires and batteries and etc. all use oil. It's just magical thinking. We're in a Disney movie. I'm going to imagine a unicorn and there's going to be a Prince Charming and we've solved the problem. It is the height of lying to ourselves. So as the world moves forward, as the United States goes to war, as Kamala Harris wins, as the United States continues to live in this surreal idea that we can drive 2 hours back and forth from work on highways, and unfortunately that's what Trump has in mind. Although Trump has free market tendencies, so he knows the free market can come up with alternatives like living downtown. But anyway, as we move forward, demand for oil and gas is going to skyrocket. We have not invested in oil and gas. Oil is going to go to, I think, $500 a barrel. In that world, claiming and owning oil and gas assets, which only Greg McCabe knows how to get, you're going to have leverage to huge upside. That's what I would do. Oil and gas companies are different natures, different stages. If you're an Exxon or a Chevron or an APA, revenue matters most. And by the way, Jason, in oil and gas companies, even revenue is not the metric you should be looking at. The metric you should be looking at is cash flow. And I was corrected in one, because I'm not an accountant. EBITDA is essentially cash flow, earnings before income, tax, and depreciation. But revenue is a fair proximity of it. But revenue doesn't divide out. It just depends. All of it's accounting tricks. It just depends how you're counting your revenue. Are you counting it before you make the distributions? Anyway, I'm not an accountant. You got to look at it closely. But if you're a big company, cash flow revenue is what you have to look at. And that's the most important thing. If you're a small company, the engineering report, the reservoir report, that's really the most important. But then the question is, why would you make that public, Jason? Why would NextBridge, just to satisfy a bunch of double D's acolytes, whining and making fun of other people on the Twitter spaces, why would you put that out when you can make, I'm guessing, I have no idea, but I'm guessing that to renew their leases is going to cost $35 a lease. I could be wrong, but that's what I think it is. Leases in the Eagleford and in the Permian went as high as $20,000 and $25,000 an acre. Why would you publish an engineering report, a reserve report, until you own all the leases you want to own? Why? Just to satisfy boo birds? No. Now, Jason, we're in a private company. We're not in a stock that was public and trading. We didn't get our 2 days of trading. We didn't get it. So we have to grow up. We're in a private company. Well, I didn't want to be in a private company. Well, you're in one. So that has a blessing. Now, they've chosen to make public filings, which I appreciate. But the blessing of being a private company, you don't have to pay attention to your share price. You don't have to be subject to the naked shorting. You don't have to quarter after quarter after quarter answer institutions yet. So while you're private, you use the assessment that was there when the dinosaurs, as Fidel Gate used to say in his squawk calls to the retail brokers. First, there were the dinosaurs. Well, okay, first there were the dinosaurs. That just what the shorts do, just what Torchlight, the hell they went through, Meta Materials went through, the greaseball Gary Gensler doesn't do. That doesn't change what the dinosaurs experienced during the Permian time frame. Doesn't change it. The oil's either there or isn't. The gas is either there or isn't. Well, Torchlight, they used Rich Masterson, who discovered or had the theories behind much of the development or much of the important development of the Delaware Basin. He took those same theories and applied it to the Oro Grande. The Oro Grande, according to Torchlight's materials, could be the largest new field discovery onshore in decades. It's the same geologist. Torchlight went out, leased up the acreage, used that data, did seismic, I think drilled a little bit, and the shorts destroyed it. Well, the shorts destroying it, the ineptitude of Gary Gensler, the complicity of Gary Gensler, the indifference of Gary Gensler has no bearing on the dinosaurs. So what has the core group of original investors in Torchlight done? They survived. They persevered. And most recently, they increased the ownership of the Oro Grande from 75% to 100%. They took their data from approximately 5 wells to 20 wells, and now they're drilling 5 more. If I'm wrong, it's 15 to 20, whatever. But they've drilled more wells into the Oro Grande than would be drilled had they drilled dry holes. But you don't know the data completely. But again, why would they publish it? To give other people the advantages they have of where to acquire leases, or extending leases at a relatively inexpensive price. Now, why would the landowner extend the lease, University Lands and etc., at a reasonable price, a low price? Because they want the wells drilled. And who's going to drill them? It's going to be Nexbridge. But the engineering report right now is probably the most important thing. The reserve estimates, the reservoirs, all that. It's probably the most important thing in terms of raising money via Roth Capital. Now, I can guarantee you there is an engineering report. I would use Netherlands Sewell, but it could be Ryder Scott. It could be, I never pronounce it correctly, Gustafson. It could be somebody else. The best would be Netherlands Sewell. When they give a report, you can take it to the bank, my opinion. But that report will be something that Roth Capital has to raise money with. Now, I'm sure there'll be NDAs. I doubt there's a data room unless it's all signed off on. And it's all a question of, do they have options on the leases that they want? But at some point, it's an art, not a science. You got to move the wagon train forward, even if you leave a couple of the families behind. You got to get moving. So, yes, right now for NextBridge, probably the most important data is the report from Netherlands Sewell or whomever. That is what money will be raised upon. However, that report is going to be weak at the current time in the cycle of energy. It'll change, but right now you've got the big boys buying major independents, Exxon buying Pioneer. They're not done with that. But then Exxon will run out of companies they can buy. And we'll probably have one more crash. We'll probably have one more crash in oil prices to scare everybody out. But the engineering report, the reserve report, will be looked at askance by the bigger buyers until you move the potential reserves from 4P to 3P to 2P to 1P. What is 1P? Proved producing. Proved producing. To look at it from a bank standpoint, a bank in a tough time might lend 50% against your reserves that are producing. They're not going to lend anything right now anyway, unless it's starting to change. It's a cycle. It doesn't stay the same. But they're not going to lend anything on 4P. They might give you 5% on 3P, 10 or 20% on 2P. But the bulk of their focus is going to be on your producing properties to lend money. Now, that changes. Banks in the last shale boom, the huge upswing, everybody wanted to flood money into the oil and gas space. Why? Because all those guys wearing red socks and pinky finger rings, they all were dated the same girl at Phi Delta Phi. They all saw a way of getting revenue, charging fees. They could go to the Hamptons. They could talk with very ponderous descriptions of their intellect and delta, gamma, alpha, and we're going to, they paint a big picture. Well, they all just did the same thing. But in that environment, they were giving money away. Ken Peake was able to borrow money at Contango like it was non-recourse. It was non-recourse. It essentially didn't mature. That's the cycle. You'll come in a cycle where the money will be like housing. Like now with houses, they're going to make 40-year mortgages. If you don't have money, Kamala Harris will give you 150 grand. Again, feminine thinking that makes no sense. Now, men have feminine thinking too. But it's this illogic. Where's that money come from? Well, we'll print it. Well, that eventually printing money without doing anything, without earning anything, creating funds, that it becomes cheap. People don't want it anymore. But anyway, we're not there yet. It's wonderful. Kamala is going to continue to keep her values the same as they've always been. And she's going to strengthen the middle class and etc. All the platitudes you can have. And I would I would give a 60-70% chance that she's going to be your next president. So welcome to it. It'll just be the ending of this huge experiment in that things are going to be better when the toxic white straight male is replaced by Kamala Harris. But it's odd, she has a toxic white male straight, well, he says he's straight, sitting next to her. But anyway, let's not get into politics. The oil and gas business goes through cycles. Right now, Nextbridge is essentially an exploratory company. He's changed the name so he can expand and be a producing and development company as well, because that's where offshore money, particularly out of Europe, wants the predictability of those revenues. It's how you can raise money. And if I were Greg McCabe, because he knows what's coming, I would be out on the prowl to acquire. Now, there's going to be shareholders, not you, well, where's the distribution? There's no revenue. It's worthless. Those are the devils. Those are the shorts. Those are the lawyers working for the other side. Now, lawyers don't have a brain. They have the brain power of half a hollowed out pea when it comes to imagination. Lawyers are trained. The only thing that matters is what is entered into evidence. And unless it's in evidence, it doesn't exist. That's why lawyers, for the most part, don't get rich unless they sue tobacco companies, and then they're Peter Angelos. Lawyers make a hell of a lot of money, but they chop their brain in half, they hollow out half of that, and they only have precedent, and then they can lie a little bit with their filings or pretend they don't understand the spirit of the law and massage it, bring in some case from Roosevelt, and the next thing you know, they're winning a case. That's how they think. So lawyers are not going to give you credit in Nextbridge for the potential value of the reserves of the Oro Grande. It's speculative. Oh, that's speculative. All we know for sure is they closed the price at $2.90 on the last day. That's what the lawyers are going to say. And still, people want to listen to Double D on the Twitterati spaces saying that the best thing to do is to stay in a non-existent, fraudulent share called MMTLP. The lawyers are going to say anything. They're going to be paid to say anything. The lawyers are going to be paid to check their conscience at the doorstep and lie. Why? Because the only thing that matters is what the judge lets into evidence. So lie. What's the definition of is? I'm telling you, lawyers are a warped, preposterous form of human being. Not all lawyers. Not all lawyers. Look at the hard work of Richard Hoffman with one F and one N. Look at the work of Mark Bazile. Look at the work of Rosa. But most of these lawyers are warped out of any sense of human decency. And they will fight you tooth and nail. MMTLP will never, in your lifetime, give you a resolution. What will is get your butt over into Nextbridge. So anyway, I think Greg McCabe is going to increase the investment proposition of NextBridge from just being an exploratory company, which might have reserves if they produce them, to one where there's cash flow, there's locations to drill, there's growth. And then he can borrow money or raise money, and he can go and acquire, I'll make one up, he can go acquire Carrizo. I think NextBridge can be one of the most phenomenal oil and gas companies out there. Why? Because they're not going to be trapped by raising money from private equity and DEI, and we need a woman in human resources to make everything fair. And we got to pay her $2 million. NextBridge can move forward unburdened by what has burdened oil and gas, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So imperfect men went out and built the oil and gas business. And now that it's working, wait a minute, we want some too. That I don't care your opinion, and I know I might be pissing people off, but that is a disaster for building a company. Now, I just went to the conference. There are a lot of women now in the business who have trained, have gone to engineering school, have gone to Colorado School of Mines. It's changing. The dynamics are changing. But for 40 years, the Reagan Revolution, everybody that went to higher education, that weren't lawyers, weren't doctors, went into finance, as if finance is all that difficult. They didn't go into oil and gas. They didn't go into commodities. Everybody's flipping. You know, they used to say we're a nation flipping hamburgers. Everyone was flipping houses, flipping office buildings, flipping everything. That time is going to go away. And so I want to make it clear, there was a gap where you'd go to these oil and gas companies, and back when I was younger, everyone was in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then it jumped down to people in their 20s. Now that gap is still there, but a lot of those men, mostly men, are retiring. So now you have these companies that have a few old white-haired guys, but they have this big gap in expertise, men or women. But now there's sort of a cohort in their late 20s and 30s who I think are mostly men still. But there is another group coming in, and bravo, 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 of young women and young men who are dedicating their schooling and their careers to oil and gas and mining and real businesses. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Bravo, bravo, bravo. But anyway, I got off on a tangent there. I think Greg McCabe is going to make NextBridge a broad-based independent oil and gas company, which will attract capital. And I think in that world, it's going to be harder and harder for a settlement to be small. But I've got to emphasize, please, if you still own MMTLP, sooner than later, people are going to panic and all rush in to NextBridge. My guess is you have 4 months. You have 4 months. ARW. My eyesight's weird. I guess I'll do it like this. Good for you, Jason. I think the prospects for NextBridge are enormous. But the reason I told you that no one will take the reserve report seriously if there's no production is because it's still speculative. It's still riskier. So as look, the Southern Louisiana prospects he got into could have a huge benefit to shareholders. For all of my enthusiasm, the Oro Grande could still be proven to be non-economic at $80 oil. They've got to build out infrastructure. They've got water disposal. They've got maybe there's a problem with how they frack it. So there's still things to be proven, and we're not through the woods yet. But Jason, I'm really excited about these next 5 wells and the locking up the leases for 4 years or 5 years. And then maybe adding some other properties, other locations. Maybe he can go buy 2 or 3 small companies and add personnel as well. Personnel. That's for idiots. No, that's not what he says. He says personnel. That's for assholes. Callahan, I worked in personnel. Yeah. I don't know when we're going to do another truck, but I'll tell. Yeah, I think there's oil at Oro Grande. Look, these are oil men. They expanded it from 75% to 100%. They've put out filings with the SEC that there's 5 distinct reservoirs. So I'm really optimistic on it. Well, Deborah, one thing that is true in history is that Democrats are good for oil and gas. Democrats are good for oil and gas. It's not because their policies make any sense. It's just supply and demand. The thing about energy, you can't counterfeit a gallon of gasoline. You can't pretend that you put 20 gallons of gasoline into somebody's automobile and then they can drive off and never know the difference. So supply and demand works in energy, in water, in any things we need. Economists say there's nothing we need. There's just things we have more of a desire for. The argument was the only thing that people need is insulin shots if they're diabetic. Everything else is a matter of choice. I don't know. I think that goes a little far. We'll do the truck. Last time it was, I think, 1,700, but it got discounted to 1,500, something like that. It was a beautiful truck, by the way. People say they've never seen such a beautiful truck. Well, RW, I really hope you're not in MMTOP. And as we talk, $6.50 is being punctured, but there's no volume. So please, 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 I hate to just be a broken record. Please, you don't need a lawyer. You don't need a congressman. You don't need a journalist. You don't need to walk. You can hop on your scooter or hop on your phone, call your broker. Please move my placeholder that does not exist into NextBridge shares. And you got to do it before everybody else does. You just got to. You just got to. Higher taxes and inflation is all that can come. I agree, Kendall. I agree on both counts. Hey, Jennifer, I agree. He's of every attorney out there, Mark has, using the court system, which I get frustrated with because I'm, let's get going. Let's produce. Mark has put at least two things into black and white, into the record, into precedents, however you say it, as a precedent, but it is precedents. And that's progress that very few have made. So you're right. Well, Acts 1, if you traded GNS for a quick trade, I'm all for that if you recognize the dynamics. But exactly, it's back under it. That guy ripped you off, and in my judgment, and that guy, he'll live with himself off the coast of Monaco with his dyed hair. But I think that guy's bad news, in my opinion, my judgment. Hey, Gary Maddle. GME is up 8%. Hey, that's interesting. I don't follow it anymore, but that's interesting. That's right, Peter. It's pulling back a little bit right now. All right, I went off on that riff a little bit. I do want to finish this chapter, maybe go into the next one, because I'm running out of time to put ideas in your head before the stock market goes up by 50% over the next 2 or 3 months. All right, page 110, the perfect economic storm, fortune telling. The dollar standard is inherently flawed and increasingly unstable. Its demise is imminent. The only question is, will it be death by fire, hyperinflation, or death by ice, deflation? Fortunes will be made and lost, depending on the answer. Richard Duncan, The Dollar Crisis. All right, so Mike Mahoney is going to give you his opinion of what's coming. He's going to tell your fortune. Many economists disagree as to whether our economy's demise will be caused by inflation or deflation. But since Ben Bernanke became Fed chairman, most economists, see, this book is 15 years old, but the information is the same. Most economists, advisors, and newsletters who used to think we were headed for deflation have changed their mind and now think we're headed to inflation. The only thing I can see, the only problem I can see with this hypothesis is I cannot find an example anywhere in history of the public being richly rewarded for their stupidity. When everybody is on one side of the boat capsizes and sinks. Throughout history, whenever there is enormous financial upheaval and great wealth transfer, the wealth is always transferred to the big boys. The big boys always win. And if you look at the golden parachutes that all the executives who have presided over our recent banking problems, you're going to realize that even when they lose, they win. When the real interest rate becomes negative, when interest rates are below inflation, people take on excessive debt as well as excessive risk, because that is exactly what the best banking system is paying them to do. The people of the United States have followed the lead of their government and have done the same. The United States has a personal saving rate which is negative. Stephen Roach, I think he's retired, but he was at Morgan Stanley, the economist. He said the US savings rate is a record low for any leading global economic power in the history of the world. The only other time the personal savings rate was negative for so long was during the Great Depression. Millions of families have maxed out their mortgages, but somehow we extended it another 10 or 15 years. Millions of families have maxed out on their mortgages by using HELOCs. Those families are maxed out on credit card debt. If we have hyperinflation, salaries will go so high that you're able to pay off your mortgage in a short amount of time. And the bank ends up buying your house for you. But here's the problem. I can't imagine the banks buying all those homes for Joe Sixpack and John Q. Public and Susie Ormond. No, in every instance I find in history, inflation happens to a nation of savers and deflation happens to a nation of big spenders. During World War I, inflation raged and everybody became spenders. The war ended when the United States went into the huge but short-lived depression of 1921. By the end of the Roaring Twenties, everyone had become big spenders. And then the biggest deflation in history, the Great Depression, happened. During World War II, everybody saved, expecting a deflation at the end of the war, and inflation happened. Even the conservative country of Japan became big spenders when their stock market and economy boomed. In what were the Japan's roaring 80s, and then deflation set in. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. Like my love life. Do you remember when I told you about a guy who paid $1 million for a house just down the block from my friend's house? Anyway, he describes a mortgage. Let's skip that example just to save time. In a recession, some people have to take pay cuts and some people get laid off. What happens when one of them is up to his eyeballs in credit card and mortgage debt, and then another, and then another, and another? Bankruptcies turn into foreclosures, which becomes a perfect storm. Whenever things go really wrong in an economy, there is an emotional backlash. First, everyone wants to place blame. Second, they overreact with a knee-jerk response, unburdened by what has been. Lending standards will be tightened, making the problems worse. Peter Schiff, he used to run Euro Capital, quote, Home prices are a function of what future buyers can afford, not what past buyers paid. If new buyers are required to make 20% down payments, fully document their income, and fully amortize at a fixed rate mortgage, they will not be able to pay nearly as much as what current owners have paid during the bubble. This was in 2008. We'll see if it happens again. Soon the world, this is before the Big Short, soon the world will wake up to the fact that though the mortgage-backed securities are a big problem, there is even a bigger problem looming. The zero down loan. Amazing. It's all predictable crap. All right, I'm going to skip over a lot of that. Okay. I'm skipping a bunch of paragraphs. The day of reckoning will come when the millions of baby boomers reach the age when they have to take mandatory distributions from their IRAs. As they find that the investments they were counting on for their retirement, homes, IRAs, mutual funds, have lost value, they will realize their dream of comfortable retirements was just that, a dream. These boomers will get scared and pull in their horns. They will stop spending. They will start selling off their assets. And then you'll have a great market crash, which I've been saying for a while. More and more boomers will panic and sell. And Mike Mahoney believes this will be accompanied by the greatest real estate crash the world has ever seen. The perfect storm of bankruptcies and foreclosures will cause currency supply to contract, to reduce as the giant credit bubble pops. And all those big spenders become big savers. When people save their currency, it stops circulating. The economic engine locks up. This is real deflation. And this is what Ben Bernanke is scared to death of. Ben will start sending out money bombing helicopters, but this time something will be different. Something will have gone horribly wrong. The bombs will have been diffused. The Fed will try pumping the banking sector by buying every bit of debt they can, but to no avail. They will go to extraordinary measures. They will buy every mortgage, every MBS, every kind of debt, but nothing good will come out of it. They will start buying stocks and buoy the markets, but retail sales will continue to plunge. This is what we're living through. They will try broad-based tax cuts, but it won't jumpstart the economy. They will work with foreign central banks to buy each other's debt, but the global economy will continue to plummet. People will finally see through the veil. They will see what Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man saw. They'll see that the Wizard of Oz is just a dopey old guy frantically pulling levers. During World War I, the Germans increased their currency supply by 400%, and there was no price inflation because of the public's anxiety over the war and the uncertainty of their future. Imagine the anxiety of 75 million baby boomers. I'm one of them. Imagine the anxiety the baby boomers will feel as they approach retirement, only to find their homes and mutual funds are now worth next to nothing. The nest egg cracked. when they get tax rates, they're not going to buy a big screen TV. They're just going to save the money. But there will be a point at which a threshold is reached. So the Fed, in his opinion, will just turn open the spigots even more. And currency will begin to fall like rain in the desert. Joe Sixpack and John Q. Public get tax rebate checks in the mail for all the taxes they paid in their entire lifetime. Fear will be alleviated, and some of the currency will come out of hiding, just as it did in the Weimar Republic. Prices will rise quickly and dramatically as stored up currency is released. And then the Fed will call back the money printing, which I think is what's happened first under this idiot. It was Ben Bernanke, but who came in after that? And then Janet Yellen. And now I think Jerome Powell is trying to ratchet back. The Dow will begin an invisible crash of epic proportions, and gold prices will shoot to the moon. If you were wise enough to moor your boat in the safe harbors of gold, silver, and other commodities, like John says, platinum, you will weather the storm. It won't be pretty, but at least you'll be safe. Isn't this what I've been talking about? So there, he's saying there will be two choices during that. They can shut down the government, or they can just keep printing money to keep the government going. So the point is, currency is going to go to value less. But we're an interconnected international economy. It could happen overseas. Eventually, the world economy will lose faith in the United States dollar and will want to dump it by buying up goods. This will, of course, cause the price of goods to rise. So he's saying that economists will say this time fiat currency will work. History gives this, the idea that fiat currency will work, a probability of 0. Each time we have sailed toward economic doom, the greatest financial minds in the world were at the helm. Do you think we should allow them to continue to steer your ship? All right, stay tuned for tomorrow and we'll get into gold. But I'll leave it there for now. There's not enough volume in this stock, Spiny. What does he say? Yeah, they don't like it. You're right. You're right. There's not enough volume yet to show that it's had a breakout to me. Thank you, X1. I think I did call it early, much to my I was embarrassed for a while because I was the only one saying it, but ugh. Yeah, Ham. I'll tell Ham you said that, David. Hey, the one. Hey, Ralph. Wow. Yeah. I had a dear friend of mine. She rests in peace. But anyway, we just got to go with today. Today our best, tomorrow better. That's what infused the great Benjamin Bradley. Today our best, tomorrow better. That's how he got by day. It was written in the chalkboard on his. The nun wrote it up in grade school. Well, X1, I'm going to try to learn. I just signed up for Podcastle. It looks really complicated, unfortunately. I was hoping I could do lives with Podcastle. But now I have a computer because of the great generosity of Flying Bus Driver that I think I can start breaking things down into smaller videos. I could never do it before. And book chapters. There's one, I think it's Podcastle, but it might be another one where the AI sets up your chapters. I'll try to do that. I don't know how to do it. I don't know. The gentleman who's running the receivership, I think he'll do a good job cleaning things up. But we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. All right, it's 2:39. I haven't eaten. I'm going to go before this one shop closes. I'm going to go buy myself a quick something to eat. So I wish everyone peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the 3-day weekend, and remember to be kind to your web-footed friends, for a duck could be somebody's mother. See you down the road.